Welcome to Xara Template Tutorial number 8. In this Xara Web Designer 7 Premium tutorial, we'll be going over the Mould Tool and how to apply an envelope mold and also how to apply a perspective mold. If you haven't already, start a brand new document in Xara Web Designer 7 Premium. Once you have that started, let's go ahead and select one of the quick shapes from the toolbar here. In this case, we can't actually select any quick shape. You're actually going to have to select the rectangle, my favorite quick shape. So please do not select the circle or the star. And the reason for that is the envelope tool does not allow you to apply a proper envelope or perspective to any quick shape with the exception of a rectangle. So always remember, you want a four-sided object when dealing with the Mould Tool. It doesn't have to be a perfect square or perfect rectangle. It just needs to have four straight sides. So go ahead and select the rectangle, and let's create my favorite shape, the square. If you have rounded edges, go ahead and deselect the curved corners in your info bar. And once you've done that, if you don't have any curves, great, you're ready to move forward. And if you have, let's go ahead and select the Mould Tool now. If you look in your toolbar, you'll see this wavy, kind of looks like a flag almost. And if you don't see that, look for this bevel tool in your toolbar options here, and then place your cursor over it, and it should reveal the Mould Tool. So once you find that, go ahead and select your Mould Tool. And you'll notice that your info bar changes at the top here, and you have a new set of shapes. The first set of shapes here are for your envelope. This is how you make an envelope shape. And the second shapes are for your perspectives. We're going to start with the envelope. By default, the first option is default envelope. And if you select that, that enables the envelope mold shaping options. And you'll see four small squares. You probably can barely see that on the screen here, but hopefully you can see it. You'll see four small squares that are nodes around this rectangle we drew. And if you click on any of them, it'll highlight it and it'll activate a series of four nodes, two on the right side here and two horizontally at the top. And you can click on any of these nodes and move your shape around. So let's left click on this top right one and pull it outward, and you'll see that it changes the shape of your square. And you can move that inward if you want it to be closer, and you can kind of get like a wavy pattern, or you can move it outward if you want it more outward for the shape. And let's push it back in a little closer towards the square. And once you make that kind of closer towards the square again, you'll see these two nodes that are on the right hand side here. And hopefully you can again see that on the screen. They're very small. But if you left click on the first one from the top down, this one right here, you'll be able to kind of add a curvy path to your rectangle. And you can push that inward if you want it, or you can push it outward. And that's allowing you to change the shape of this square. It's no longer a square, it's just a, handcrafted shape of your own style. It has no specific name for the shape that you create. So again, you can click and drag inward, left click and drag outward, or any direction that you want to adjust that curve. Now there's another one down here, another node, the second one, and this one allows you to again to adjust the bottom part of curvature. So you can push the curve in, you can push the curve out to match the top curve. I'm trying to make sure that you understand this. That's why I'm constantly saying the same thing over and over, because I want to make sure that you're understanding how to edit this. So if you push it in, it changes the curve to go inward, or it goes outward. Alternatively, you could push the top curve in by dragging that node, and you could push the other one out. So it kind of gives you this zigzag curve almost. The other option you have is you can click the bottom node at the corner, just like we did at the top, and you could drag the square outward, or you could drag it inward. So always remember the outer nodes at the corners allow you to, it's kind of like allowing you to resize the shape, to make it bigger or smaller, by dragging outward or inward. Whereas the inner nodes adjust more so the curvature of the shape. So if you want it more curvy, you can pull it outward. Less curvy, you can kind of line it up with the top curvature. And if you drag this node here, it'll straighten the line up some. Drag the bottom one, and it gets less of a curvature. So inner two nodes help with adjusting the curvature. You can increase the curvature or decrease it by adjusting these two inward nodes. And that applies to any side. If I wanted to go to the bottom side and I wanted to adjust these two nodes, I could push outward on this one, and I could push outward on that one, or I could push it inward to have the same curvature. And then let's say you say, well, I don't see the two nodes on the left hand side, how do I get to those? Well, it's quite simple. You would just select this corner node like I just did. So let's go back actually to this node, and let's say you don't see right now you don't see the two nodes, inner nodes on this side. Well, that's because we have this corner selected. And when you have a corner selected, it only highlights the two nodes, the two leftmost nodes. So like you have the two left here, and then you'll have the two upward. So I should say actually you'll see the first two to the left and the first two on the other side. So the first two sides, basically, you'll see two nodes here that you can edit, and you have two nodes here, one here and one here. Actually, I'm sorry, it'll be this one here. This is the other one. So you have these two nodes here on this side, and then you have these two nodes, this one and that one on this side, to adjust the bottom part. So you can adjust the bottom part when you have this corner selected, and you can adjust the right hand side. Whereas if we select this node here, we can now adjust this side and the bottom side. Or if we select the top node, we can now adjust the top part here, and we can adjust the bottom here. So depending on what corner you have selected, it will activate additional nodes that you can see. So don't worry about it too much. Just remember that when you select a different corner, it'll activate the nodes on different sides. So if I'm over here, I can edit this side of the object and that side. If I select it over here, I can edit this top part here, and I can edit this part here. And I'll demonstrate that. Once you have this node selected, you can go ahead and you can pull outward on that node and adjust that curve, or push inward if you want it. And we could take the top node here and push it inward. And if I select this top corner node here, I can now push inward on that one. I can push outward if I want it, or I can push, So I think you get the general idea. But if we select the selection tool, you'll now see that we have a handcrafted shape. It doesn't have a specific, name for it. We just created our own abstract shape using the Mould Tool. And that's the power of using the Mould Tool, using the default option. So let's go ahead and let's delete this shape now, and hit the delete key. And let's make another rectangle using the toolbar here. Select the square option, create another square, and select your Mould Tool again. The next option we have in the info bar up here is the circular envelope, and let's select that. Now you got a circle. So now you're starting from a circle, and the same concepts that we just went over. If you select one of the corner nodes, it allows you to adjust the curvature, by dragging on the outer two nodes. Again, you can do that by simply dragging the nodes in or outward. And if I go to this corner, I can now adjust the curvature by dragging the two inner nodes inward or outward. And if I drag one of the outer nodes, it adjusts the size of the shape. So again, just like before, if you want to adjust the size, you drag the outer corner nodes, that are in the four corners. Like if this is one of the corners, we would drag outward, drag inward. The two outer nodes allow us to adjust the curvature of that. So it's the same concept. You're just starting from a circle. So like if we went back up and selected circle again in the info bar, it gives us a circle, and it gives us four nodes. One here, one here, one here, and one here. And those are your four corners. That's how you adjust your size just so you know. I know I kind of did that fast before, so I'm showing you again. If you click on any of those four corners, it adjusts the size inward to outward. And when you select any of those four corners, it gives you, outer nodes that adjust the curvature that you can drag inward or outward. So I hope you got a good idea of what that does and kind of got a unique shape here, and it can be used for a variety of different things. Let's go ahead and select this shape again. If you don't have it still selected, select the Mould tool. This time we're going to go to Elliptical Envelope, and again, all you're doing is you're starting from this particular shape, and you can adjust the nodes as just before. I won't show you again, it's the same concept. Let's go to the next option, the Concave Envelope in the info bar, and now you're starting from a concave shape. And so in this case, I'll kind of show you, it's the same thing, it's just a different shape. You select the corner, you can push it inward further by selecting the inner node. You kind of get this concave shape that looks like it's growing at one end and it's smaller in the center. It's kind of like you're starting at a point that's closer to you, and as you get to the center it gets smaller, then it gets at the top, it gets bigger again. So that's the concave shape, and the same concept applies. You can adjust the curvature by adjusting the two inner nodes. Let's go to the next shape in the info bar. This is the banner envelope. Same concept, it's just rotating the concave shape, and again we can adjust this to make whatever shape we want by adjusting the curvature and adjusting the size to fit whatever our specific needs are. So I'm just going to play with it a little bit and give you an opportunity to also do the same thing, so you can get familiar with how to adjust the different curvatures and sizes of using the envelope tool. So I think that's enough for this part. Let's go ahead and actually we're going to copy this shape, and what I mean by that is we're going to use the info bar up here, go to copy mold shape, and we're going to draw, after you hit that key, the copy mold shape, with this selected, we're going to draw another square. And now we're going to go ahead and select the envelope tool again, and then we're going to hit this key here that says paste envelope in the info bar. And when you hit that, you'll notice it gives a similar curvature as this. We basically copied this envelope mold and pasted it to another object. So now we can, if we pull up on this top corner node, pull up on this one, you'll notice that, hey, it's pretty identical. If you select the selection tool, you'll see that, take all the points around it off, you'll see that it's shaped very similar to this shape. So if you got something that you're using a lot and you want to keep that shape form, you can actually copy and paste the envelope mold to another square, so you don't have to redraw that whole thing again. You can just get something similar, and you can adjust it to be different if you need to. So let's go ahead and delete both. Well, let's not delete both, let's just delete that other one. Go back to your envelope tool and set it back to your default envelope so you can have a square again. And let's go to now the perspective tool, and that's the next set of icons you have here in the info bar, and select default perspective. You didn't actually have to select the default envelope, I just did that so that we could get rid of that ugly shape, but you could alternatively have selected default perspective here. So make sure you select that. Once you select that, you'll have the four nodes again around your square, and now we can adjust the perspective. And the perspective doesn't allow you to get curves, so you'll notice that we don't have those extra nodes that were in the inner part as we did before. So you can only adjust the four corners, because now we're dealing with perspective. And so pull the corners however you want. In this case, I want to pull the corners to go inward, and you'll notice that we have this little cursor here. Well, that cursor is representation of your vantage point. If this rectangle that we're drawing was to, well, it's not really a rectangle, but if this shape was to come closer together, you notice that the cursor gets closer. The closer you get to your vanishing point, the closer that cursor will get. the further you are away from making a vantage point. So your vanishing point will be way over here. Assuming that this object continued on forever, this will be the point at which the two lines here would join together as one. And I'll show you what I mean. Like if I brought this all the way to the center, you know, at some point you would not see a line there. It would just be an endpoint. So this part here of the object, the top part, this is the biggest part. It's bigger here, so this is the closest part of the object to you. And as you go down, it gets smaller, smaller. As like in real life, if you were standing next to a building that was really long, this part right here, let's say you're standing here, and you look straight down the building, it gets smaller and smaller the further the building goes down until it eventually vanishes. And that's what you get when you have a vantage point. But if the building was really short, you wouldn't see a vanishing point. Let's say the building went from here to here, you would see the whole building. But if the building was really long and you dragged it way down, you wouldn't see the end point. It would be too far for your eye to see. So you eventually have a point where it vanishes. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying here. But you can just adjust the nose to fit whatever shape you want. It's just adjusting it without the curvature. So let's go back to the envelope. Let's go back to the perspective options in the info bar, and let's select left perspective. So now it draws it for us automatically. We have it showing depth by getting smaller as the object gets further away from you. And we could do a right perspective. If you go back to the info bar and select that, now it does it from the right. It starts off really large from the right, and as we go down, the perspective gets smaller as you get farther away from the object. And we could do a floor perspective where it goes from the floor up, and it gets smaller as the object gets further away from you and bigger as it's closer to you. And we could reverse that by doing the ceiling perspective if you select that in the info bar. And again, you can adjust the distance of this object by adjusting the two nodes. You can make it, have a smaller vanishing point, and as the object gets further away, it gets smaller. And again, you could do the same thing we did with the other object. I just selected the default perspective. You can copy the the perspective by going over here and copy the mold shape like we did before, and then once you do that, you would hit paste perspective. So let's go ahead and select the left perspective in this case and change it. Once you select left perspective, go to copy mold shape and then draw another quick shape square, and then go back to your mold tool. Once you go back to the mold tool, go ahead and hit paste perspective, the second paste option in your info bar, and you'll see that it takes on the similar shape as the first one that we created. So now you know how to copy and paste mold shapes to quick shapes, and you also know how to create envelopes using the mold tool, and also creating perspectives using the envelope tool. But I want to show you something else. You've seen how to create mold shapes and envelopes using one quick shape, but I'm going to show you something unique beyond just doing that. So go ahead and select your selection tool and delete both of these shapes. Now we're going to just select the square tool again, because remember, it has to be a four-sided shape to use it on the envelope or the perspective tool. So select that and just draw a bunch of random squares. It doesn't matter what they look like, just draw them on the screen. Draw as many as you please, and just in random spaces. Doesn't matter where it lands at. Just whatever you want, whatever fits your taste. You're probably wondering, what in the world am I doing? But trust me, you're gonna really like this. It's pretty cool. So just draw as many as you can, just for the sake of it, and just fill your screen up with squares. Okay, now let's go to selection tool, and then at the bottom of your screen, let's go to the color editor. At the bottom, left click that, bring up your color editor, and then we're going to change the color of these squares. So select the square that you want to change the color of and make it whatever color you want. Just a few of them. It doesn't have to be all of them. We're just going to change a few of these down around to have different colors. So as you're changing those, I'm going to change mine as well. I'm just going to get a variety of colors in here. Alright, we can make that whatever color. A few more color changes. How about let's get some yellow in there. Alright. Okay, now that we got a few of those changed, you're going to see one of the coolest effects I think that you can make using the Mould Tool. We're going to hit Control A and select all of those squares. And then we're going to select the Mould Tool again. And we're going to go to Envelope, Concave Envelope in the info bar. Select that. And now you've got this cool effect of squares just floating in the air. And left click on the selector tool so you can see it. Now you've got all these cool shapes together into one abstract piece of artwork. And if you click on it, double click on it, you'll have all these shapes and you can adjust them all at the same time using the methods we used before by dragging the edges of the nodes and adjusting the inner nodes for curvature if you want to adjust the curvature, and you can kind of create your own cool effect. So hope you have a little fun with that, and see what all kind of effects you can get from adjusting the curvature. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. Maybe everybody else doesn't, but I thought it's pretty unique to be able to create these abstract shapes using the envelope tool. And you can make yours look a lot cooler than mine. This video is just for demonstration. I don't want to make an hour video long to show you like exactly how cool it can be, but this should at least give you an idea. Got this really retro kind of abstract shapes using the Mould Tool. Alright, and let's go ahead and select the left perspective in the envelope, in the info bar, I'm sorry. And you can also use it using the perspective. So you can do this with both the envelope tool options, and you can also do it with the perspective options. So you can select any of these options in the perspective and it'll still apply different effects. So you can kind of experiment and see what you like the most. Maybe you like the envelope options, so you could select some of the envelope options. But yeah, it's a variety of different effects that you can get by playing with those. And I hope that's enough to help you get started with using the envelope tool and making some fancy designs. So again, we learned how to use the envelope tool, the perspective tool, copying and pasting different mold types, and adjusting the shapes using the different nodes for both of those tools. And yes, that's the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions, please send us a message on YouTube, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us thumbs up if you enjoyed this tutorial and if it was helpful in helping you learn how to use the Xara Web Designer software.